welcome to the first ever episode of Weekly Reset, a Destiny podcast. The goal of this podcast is to provide another space for those that love Destiny to come, hang out, discuss the important issues of the week, and hopefully learn a thing or two in the process. Now, you're probably wondering who we are and why we're doing this. It's a good question. We are all part of the founding members of the Xbox One Destiny clan, Apex. We have a pretty diverse group, different ages, backgrounds, and interests outside of Destiny, and also have differing levels of Destiny experience. So let's start out by going around the group and telling our listeners who you are, what kind of Destiny player you are, and a few things about yourself so everyone can get acquainted.
Hey everyone, I'm Sam. I am a casual player, and three things about me. I would say I'm pretty happy and an optimistic person. I like to be a tad bit goofy, and I like to sing Disney songs. And my sorry, my main character is my hunter, and it's level 32.
My name's Nikki. I am, I guess you could say, a moderately hardcore player. I'm also in the beginning stages of becoming a crazy cat lady, and I'm a photographer. And my main character is a level 34 Titan.
Hey, my name's Epion. I would say I'm a hardcore gamer, and I'm more than slightly obsessed with Destiny. I'm an aspiring videographer and a big hockey fan, and my main character is the Titan.
And I'm John. I'd call myself a hardcore player. Probably not as much as Jeff, but still pretty hardcore. Three things about me. I'm an aerospace engineer. I like to program in my spare time, and I also like to surf. My main on Destiny is a warlock. Let's start off this podcast with some talk about the weekly update. First of all, it goes over weapon families. It's got some information about trials, something on a penny for your thoughts, and then some fixes in the background that we're going to see. So let's go ahead and start off with weapon families. First of all, he goes through the three new weapon families that they're featuring in Destiny: The Taken King.
Yeah.
He's got Hake, I think, or Haka. Haka, Omelon, and Suros. So on each one of these, he gives a brief description on what their design pillars are, and then a tactical analysis. So I'm not exactly interested in the design pillars, other than just a couple of things. But let's go ahead and dive into Haka first. So for the design pillars, they said hammers, not scalpels. Relatable design harkening back to a lost era. Haka is not about exciting form, it's about exciting function. A weapon's weapon, and Haka is the instrument of the people. And then when they talk about tactical analysis, they say, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll go over just a couple of the things that I highlighted. Function over flair. Haka weapons all start with a more tightly focused band of base stats that don't spike as high or as low as other weapon families, granting a solid foundation for growing the weapon. The talent grid, you'll see, has simplified set of scopes, so I'm not really sure. We can talk about that. It also has front-loaded perk nodes, and with stat upgrade options occupying the final column. It also mentions that Haka perk selection is focused on offensive actions and combat tactics. That pulse rifles for Haka will fire 4 rounds versus 3 for the other ones. So they'll do a little bit more damage per round, but overall the burst will yield the same overall damage if you land all the shots. So I guess we can just go around and see what people think about Haka for a second, or maybe what that will mean as far as changes to what we're used to seeing on weapons.
First off, I like the fact that they're coming in with these different companies and having that defying difference between weapons, and just, I guess, hearing a Suros and just knowing that that's a Suros, and having these different companies is really interesting. I like the look of Haka's, very simple and sleek, I guess. I like the fact that it has like all solid base, like stats to start off with is balanced all around. Maybe it's not too high and maybe not too low, but what it says here of front-loaded perks, you can decide which part of the weapon, if either stability or impact that you want to be front-loaded on. And the
Okay.
fact that it's like offensive actions and combat, that sounds like my type of weapon.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I actually looked at Dato's video, and he goes over one of the weapons, and as far as the offensive actions and combat tactics perk, one of the ones he shows has a perk that says kills with this weapon grant enhanced motion tracker resolution for a short time. And he shows a picture of it, and it basically, instead of the, I think, 8 divisions or 6 divisions, it basically
right.
doubles the amount of divisions. So you know whether somebody's right in front of you or just a little bit to the front left or the back left or vice versa.
I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, that's a good example of like an offensive tactic. And another one is that he goes over is this weapon handles and reloads faster when the wielder is the last living player on the fire team. So it's not really something you'd use a lot. So I don't know if I would probably not roll that. Maybe for trials it could be
that's a
somewhat
trials gun.
advantageous. Yeah, but I don't see myself using that in PvE. Ever.
Yeah. I do like that radar perk. I feel like I might be someone that might use that because I look at my radar all the time. So
Yeah.
To have a more precise, I guess, knowledge about where he is and around that corner and would be very useful.
And so one of the other things that it's talking about here with the perk selection and the talent grid and the simplified set of scopes and all that, it makes me think that each of these different weapon designers are going to have a different looking perk tree.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I couldn't find anything online. I'm sure there is something out there of some screenshots of when people were playing at E3. So I don't know if it was there or not. But it makes me think with all the different ones, and we'll get into Omelon and Suros, but it makes me think that the perk trees are going to look different rather than right now. Everything has got a pretty well defined depending on when it came out versus like Vanilla or House of Wolves. They've got the same perk tree, but now I think depending on what weapon builder or designer you get, it's going to have pretty different perk trees. So I don't know. What do you think it means by a simplified set of scopes? You think we're going to have 2 options instead of 3? I thought it was either maybe you only had 2 options for scopes, or that the total number of scopes, depending on the weapon class, were reduced. Right? Like when you reroll now, you can, for the first scope, you can get X amount of different things randomly.
Yeah.
Now this makes me think that Haka will have a very reduced amount of scopes that you can have per weapon archetype.
Do you think that they'd have their own specific scopes that you can only get on Haka's weapons?
Oh, maybe. I hadn't thought about that, but that could be a thing.
Because looking at the models, it looks like they're very unique scopes.
Yeah. They look sexy, too. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know. I think I'm going to like Haka for PvP, it looks like, with the offensive.
Yeah. I mean, it does talk about function over form, and like I'm the type of person who likes flashy things and looking good, so that's why I liked Omelon. But when it comes to PvP, I don't really care how things look. Whatever's going to make me best at what I'm doing, and I feel like Haka's, depending on what it has, is going to fulfill that need.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting, now we're going to have where everybody well, not everybody, but a lot of people for snipers, people are trying to get her benevolence because of its stats and then re-rolling it for perks. But now you're going to have to look at weapon provider, perk, options, base stats. So there's going to be a lot more guns floating around in the Taken King.
And depending what these artifacts are, the combination that you could have with those or class items, it kind of, there's so many options.
Yeah, for sure.
And depending on how these new subclasses work, I'm just excited about like how it incorporates the lore and our journey to get those too. Nikki, you saw some of them, right?
All I remember is that they're orange.
Sam, do you have anything?
Um, I'm not too much of a fan of the look, but that's because, yeah, I like a little bit more flashy things, kind of like Jeff. But I do like how they have a solid foundation, and and it says like, it's gonna have a solid foundation for growing the weapons. So I'm assuming that as you get upgrades, it's just gonna enhance the the guns, and then it kind of helps you like anticipate it becoming better, you know. So that seems cool.
Yeah, that's for sure. It feels like we're going to have to trade off more on these guns than we do now, which is kind of what they're getting into with House of Wolves anyway, where some of those like injection mold or any of those where you have perks where it decreases one but increases others, where vanilla Destiny you basically just get more of something. You don't have to give up anything. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how people play with the perks. There's going to be a lot more. There's not going to be... Well, hopefully there's not one set of perks for a weapon that makes it OP. Hopefully it'll depend on your playstyle significantly.
So are these families of guns kind of a new thing that they're going to put into Destiny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that there's no families right now, right?
Correct.
There's one.
Is there?
Well, they're continuing with the Soros. So the Soros is the Soros regime. There's a couple other Soros that were blue weapons, but they included in this update that the Soros is coming with a pulse rifle, a scout rifle, a rocket launcher. So that's one of the companies that are continuing. The other companies like Amalon and Haka are new, but
So what are the guns in Soros?
There's the rocket launcher. They didn't give us any names, but I think this one is probably one of the sexiest guns on this page. It just has
so
the
nice.
curves, the sleekness, has
Yeah,
a
it
dragon
does.
on the back. I just like the look of it, and from what I've heard through videos or reading about it, is that when you hear a Soros, you know that is a Soros gun, and I feel
Right.
like that's something interesting that's coming to Destiny. Is just when you hear a gun, you kind of like just recognize it immediately, like that's coming from a specific company, and I think that just shows that like how well they made that gun's audio system, I guess, or the sound,
Yeah.
the sounds
It's
they
kind of
chose.
like Golden Gun.
Yeah,
you
when you
know-
hear a golden gun,
Or even
or
the exotics. The
Mhm.
exotics all have their own kind of
like the Mida.
sound, like the Mida and the
Icebreaker.
Patience in Time, Icebreaker. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can hear them. So I think it's going to be a really cool addition.
Do we know if these guns are going to be kinetic, all of them, or are they going to have like attributes?
I'm assuming kinetic, but they didn't specifically say one way or another.
I would have to check my screenshots of the rocket launcher. I believe it was solar. I could be wrong because it's him running through one of the maps, and you could see the elements in the bottom.
So I assume the heavies and the special weapons will probably still have damage types, but as far as the primaries, I think they're probably still kinetic.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to save that for the raid, just kind of how it is in vanilla.
And the nice thing too is that they said that more guns that were released with the vanilla game is coming with Taken King. So the amount of guns that we got with Destiny when we first bought it is going to be more than that coming with the Taken King.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. A whole new batch of guns. And the fact
That's
that there's going to be class-specific guns, that just reminds me of like Diablo, where you pick up a weapon and like, oh, I can't use this. This only is for the barbarian or something, right?
Yeah. Class and faction only guns, too. Factions will have their own guns, and classes will have their own guns.
Is that going to be the same with like these families? Is it going to be kind of restricted like that?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I'm assuming they might have guns for specific classes, but I have a feeling they'll have one for each.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, yeah, they even said at the very end of it, they said even the gunsmith will have a new way to include you in his enterprise. So I'm assuming there's going to be some cool stuff there as far as how we can maybe reforge. I'm assuming we can probably still reforge. People seem to like that.
Yeah. And from just deducting, I guess, is just looking on the images on the weekly update for each company, so Haka and Amalan and Suros, it has a screenshot of all three class types wielding the weapon. So I think the factions won't, or the new companies won't be specific to a specific class.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because while they even say at the in that last paragraph, more quests will lead you directly to specific guns.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting. There's going to be a lot more. I feel like there's going to be a lot more, maybe not main story stuff, but a lot more story type missions in this that will give you a lot more background on how you're getting guns, or why you're getting these type of guns, or how they were made, and that kind of stuff.
Something more along the lines of like exotic bounties, I guess.
Yeah. Only this will just be for, I'm assuming, legendary ones, which is even cooler because
a lot more to do.
Yeah, lots more to do.
I like the fact that somewhere there was a Luke Smith interview, and he said that not only are you going to be going on an adventure to find your new subclass that's coming out with the Taken King, but you're going to be finding a lot more about your class overall. So you're finding out more about like the Titan overall as a class and its history, I guess. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be cool for sure. All right, so let's move on to Omelon, the second one. Nikki, Jeff, Sam, does somebody want to read the design pillars and the technical analysis?
I would do it because this is the company that I like, and it's the logo is my favorite color, and I really like techie stuff. So, the flavor text, I believe, is "The future is what we make it." Design pillars provided by lead artist Raj Natam, and it reads: experimental, bordering on irresponsible, powered by barely understood technology, a fusion of the mad scientist and product engineer of the new frontier. Hallmark is the liquid ammo displays and Omelon power cells. Omelon is the future returned. Tactical analysis. This company is the pioneers of energy weaponry. So they're the first foundry to experiment beyond the world of combustion ballistics. They like ergonomic frames. All the weapons start with a generous base of handling stats. It focuses on behavioral perks over stat customization. The legendary talent grids are the only weapons that offer 3 perks. One as the first non-scope upgrade, and 2 as a binary choice in the final column. Perk selection favors perks that are energy based and or go beyond the weapon to interact with the wielder's abilities or status. Yeah, so very future like. It's all energy. It's just they look really flashy.
They do look very sexy.
Like very sleek.
Yes.
Design.
And I think the legendary talent grid thing that first of all, based on handling, that makes me immediately want to grab a pulse rifle from Omelon. Because I'll be able to land a full burst into somebody's head. And then the fact that the talent grids focus on behavioral perks over stat customization. So in the Datto video, there was a couple perks that he showed. One of them is this weapon becomes more accurate as your health gets lower. Another one was kills with this weapon while bloodied have a chance to start health regen. And then another one was this weapon gains a boost to range and handling when health is low. So that does make sense that it's that it's focused on behavioral perks. So kind of stuff that's going to happen
situational.
As you're,
That'll be good for me.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, those are good perks. Again, I don't know what I'm going to choose. Every time I read these, I think that one's going to be more of a choice for like competitive versus PvE, but they seem to have done a good job of making me think which one will be better.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll just have to be. And then the fact that this kind of like goes back to the perk trees are going to change versus each different designer. Is they say that the legendary talent grids they offer 3 perks. The first one is a non-scope upgrade perk, but then the last 2 are you have to choose one or the other. So one of the ones that was in the video was the first one was radar stays active while ADS, which is always good. But then the next 2, one was whitened and the other one was grayed out. So that makes me think that those were the binary choices. So they were the weapon becomes more accurate as your health gets lower, and then the other one was the kills with this weapon while bloodied have a chance to start health regen. So it's like a...
So like the Dynasty, like the Goliath and...
Yeah.
The Goliath perk. So you switch between the 2.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, kind of like
or
some
Fang.
of the... Yeah, the Fang. Yeah, where it had... Or even the fusion rifle that...
Murmur,
yeah, there you go. Where you could change the... It's not exactly the same, but that's kind of one of the binary perks where you can change the damage type. Yeah.
I also like the fact that it says it interacts with the wielder's abilities.
Yeah, so maybe maybe some of these perks will be more class-based.
Mm-hmm.
Or something, or even if it's just damage type, like arc abilities gain a boost or something like that.
That would be
awesome. Arc abilities recharge a little bit faster. Then you would have almost a separate set of perks for every subclass, even.
Because if it boosted arc abilities or arc damage, then maybe I can actually take down a major while blade dancing.
Yeah. Maybe blade dancers will be useful in PvE to do actual damage. Yeah.
I just really don't like the look of the sniper rifle at all. Like, it looks like you're carrying around a box from IKEA.
It's like one of the headboards.
Honestly, like, it just, I don't know, it's not sleek, it's literally just a box.
Chunky.
Yeah.
But the hand cannon looks like a Tron gun, and I like it.
It does.
I think the hand cannon looks real nice. Same with the scout rifle. I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of
rifle
unknowns. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Scout rifle reminds me of Hard Light.
It does, and that's what Omelon made me think of in the first place when it said it was the pioneers of energy weapons, since Hard Light's really the only one that fires hard light. So yeah, that makes me think of it exactly. Hard Light. All right, so let's move on to Suros.
All right, so the design pillars provided by lead artist Raj Natam. This is my sword. Function is a given. It must be given form. Design is honed precision. Every curve, every line, every chamfer speaks to the Suros philosophy. Suros is elegance amidst brutality.
Okay, so basically what I am getting from this is that it's just super customizable, I guess. Like, for, I guess, whether you're playing PvP or PvE, you can change it to suit your style of play. Whether you want it like a close-up weapon or a more ranged weapon, it just has kind of all perks to complement your playstyle.
What I like about Suros, the Suros regime is super accurate. The stability on it is crazy. It was one of my favorite guns before they nerfed auto rifles. I used that thing so much, and I just racked so many kills. Even now, to this day, out of all the weapons I've used, the Suros still has more kills. Or I have more kills with the Suros. So I agree with everything they're saying here, that, you know, the curve, every line, elegance, like all their guns are very sleek and shiny. And the fact that they just, when they talk about the stability, it's just like I totally agree with all of it. And so I'm excited to see the rest of, I guess, the weapon lines that they're bringing out, because I've only used an auto rifle from Suros, so I would like to try out some of these weapons that are coming out, like this rocket launcher.
Yeah, for sure. This is the one I think has the most up in the air. I don't think that the other two are a little bit more down to the point. This one seems like this could be just about anything. Mm-hmm. It's got a single behavior perk in the middle of the talent grid. And then, it basically says if you want a weapon that can flex all around, you can kind of make that happen. So I wonder if the perks are going to be, maybe if they're re-rollable, when you re-roll it, will you always get perks that will be able to do both? So you'll get some that are perfectly suited for range and then some that can switch it. So every weapon will be good to switch around. Or will it just be overall perk combination is kind of random? So I don't know.
Yeah. It seems like, how it says it's quick. It can be flex from CQ to range, quick to powerful, fast handling to hard hitting. It kind of, it's kind of all over the place in a good way, because then you can kind of select which one is kind of best suited for you depending on, what you're doing and what your needs are.
This to me sounds like the most PvE oriented designer, because I feel like in PvE you actually have the time to, in PvP you're not going to sit there, hit start, go to your thing, switch up some talents in the middle of a fight. But in PvE you have the time to kind of hang back for a second, know what you're going into, switch to maybe a different style of the gun that will help you for the next encounter, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. So maybe now we'll have some more customizable stuff for that.
For PvP, I would just pick close quarters, powerful, and hard hitting, just to end it quick every interaction.
Yeah. Which is what I would probably pick for a primary. Mm-hmm. But I wonder what I don't know, for stuff like sniper rifles, how much can you really... I wonder if there's going to be certain perks on these that really mess with the impact or something like that, because I can't think of many ways to make a sniper rifle CQ to ranged. Those should always be ranged, even if you can quick scope in and with short gaze and get a nice quick headshot. But those seem to me like they're always range focused. So I wonder what the quick to powerful, especially the quick to powerful one, maybe you will have a little bit more to mess around with on impact perks and that kind of thing. Maybe I could take one into Crucible and then use it to quick snipe with faster rate of fire, and then switch it up if I need to get some revive shots.
Or maybe Suros isn't coming out with a sniper.
That's also true. They didn't show one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess I kind of assumed that every weapon designer will have
one
every
of each
weapon type, but that may not be true. They didn't specifically say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they would reveal everything. I think that they want to leave some stuff to kind of open it for us to question or think about.
I would hope.
Well, at the bottom it says it doesn't cover the entire product line that all three of them have, so I'm assuming there's going to be more, but I don't know. To me, Suros, it seems like it's trying to become a PvE kind of company, because I don't know, the way I kind of understood it is based on what kind of map you have, you can, and once you get to know the perks and know them well enough that you can switch them quickly, you're just kind of set, because you can go from let's say Burning Shrine to Anomaly by just changing a couple nodes.
But since they're trying not to also, with the whole how they're trying to balance all the weapons, I wonder if they're also going to kind of make sure that all the weapons are kind of, evened up. Because it seems like this family would be the ideal one to use because of how you can change things real quickly.
Yeah, or you just switch weapons and you get a couple different you get an Omelon and a Haka and a Suros, and then instead of switching around perks on the weapon, you just switch the weapon up between maps or missions and that kind of stuff. So I think it's, I know I'm hoping, I'm sure that they've been playtesting all of these weapon balance things with all the new
update
as well. Yeah,
I think so.
We'll see.
I think they've been, the way I imagine Destiny and how it's right now, it's the meta of, you know, exotic hand cannons and quick interactions, and that seems to be a meta if you want to, and shotguns at long range. If you want to compete in this meta, you gotta use that or have a disadvantage, and I think they knew that. I think that with the weapon balance that they released last week, that they knew that auto rifles were going to get a buff. I had the feeling. I kept my auto rifles just hoping that, you know, auto rifles would be buffed, and here they are. And I feel like this weapon line here just shows that they knew the entire time while they were designing this that the meta was going to change, and it was going to complement these kind of weapons. Like, they're releasing all these auto rifles, right? Why design all these auto rifles if nobody uses them right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've still got my Vanquisher 8 sitting in my vault, ready to use with Third Eye and Persistence. So,
yeah, I guess it all
that update comes out.
Depends what we're able to ascend to, whatever they choose, right? I believe they're changing the damage of like 365 to light levels.
Yeah, that's kind of what it made it seem like from that E3 build, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. So now our weapons are going to say light level 30 or 32, just to kind of, instead of you know, going up to whatever number, 500 or 460 or whatever. But I just hope that I can bring my Soros regime to whatever new damage type they choose, because I love that gun.
I think the exotics are probably safe until Destiny 2. Then I don't think I make any promises, but I think the exotics will be able to go into Year 2, but maybe not Destiny 2.
Yeah.
So they kind of close out that weapon talk with, we've already kind of hit on stuff, but there are going to be more choices than ever to arm yourself in the tower. Factions are going to have their own guns, which, I mean, they already have their own guns. So I don't really see much of a change there, unless they mean that they're going to have their own flavor, kind of like Omelon and Suros, whereas now I don't really see any of the factions having a specific goal in mind with their weapons. Maybe now they'll be a little bit more aligned into kind of like a family of guns.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think we'll get these guns? Do you think they're going to be some Omelon vendor somewhere, or do you think it's just going to drop in the wild?
I hope there's a vendor. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're getting a new social space, right? In the
Dreadnought.
the ship. Yeah, that. So I'm assuming they're gonna put some new guys up
well,
there.
The Dreadnought is public space. That's my mistake.
It's a patrol.
Yeah, but
it's
like
not
a new
really a social
Oh,
space.
never mind.
Yeah, I don't think they've mentioned a new social space yet, but yeah, I don't think we can go hang out in the Dreadnought as far as the story goes. Probably not that safe. But yeah, so then it goes on to talk about classes will have their own guns, which is awesome. I don't even know what to say about that, but man, if they make guns kind of like with perks similar to armor that classes have now, man, we're going to be able to really customize our guardians to have.
Now it actually makes a difference on what you're running or what you choose, and that's kind of what I was looking for, like in vanilla game, or when this game. This is the kind of things I was expecting. What I do hope though is they, you know, include a hair salon so I can go change my guy however I want without having to delete my character and make a new one.
That's awesome.
I kind of wish that too. I am now regretting my face tattoo choice because it just makes my girl look like she has resting bitch face all the time.
But that's not new for you, right?
Well, not for me in real life.
I'm gonna no comment on any of that.
No, it's true though. I do, so it's okay.
So there's one more thing. It's the last thing I want to touch on is that they're going to have, they say more quests will lead you directly to specific guns.
So maybe
So I don't know if that's talking about guns in general, like more exotic bounties, or if you're actually going to have quests to go do legendary guns now.
Or both.
Or both, which would be equally as awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's how you unlock a certain type of gun.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do like an Omelon or a Suros or a Haka quest line to be able to buy their guns.
I mean, that new quest page is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's giant. And everything from vanilla and TBD and or TDB and House of Wolves is all being questified. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm interested to see what they said they're going to talk about it more in a future update. So I'll probably just leave it at that. But it is exciting to think about.
Well, you have to go through different quests now to get to your like new super or whatever it's subclass.
Yeah.
What is it
So
called?
the new
Yes.
campaign,
So
I believe, is our journey to that subclass.
Yeah, so I'm assuming like that's where you would that campaign quest line kind of thing or whatever is where you would get your class specific guns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense.
We pick it up during a journey.
Yeah, and it kind of helps you to get to your new subclass.
All right, so next on the weekly update is the trials. So this week, instead of one map, it's going to be all of the ones that we've seen so far. So we'll have Black Shield, Burning Shrine, Pantheon, Cauldron, Thieves' Den, and Widow's Court. And it doesn't sound like it's going to be a day-by-day thing or an hour-by-hour. It's just going to switch up from game to game.
Mm-hmm. So like elimination mode.
Yeah. So exactly like Elimination this week. Only a little bit reduced on the map selection. But they did say that this week is an experiment and they want to know what we think. So there's a link in the weekly update to a forum post where you can kind of give them some feedback. So I think that's cool. I think I like it. I think I've played enough. I was getting bored kind of with going to have the same map that we've already seen for another week.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun to already come in knowing it, but I think now that we've had each one for a week, I think making it a rotation will be kind of interesting.
Yeah. My thoughts are, I like it. It reminds me a lot of the elimination mode, which I enjoyed because, it was something I was looking forward to. A new map every turn. It makes it harder, I believe, to make the lighthouse because you're not playing the same map over and over. You're not getting that experience to, build strategies on that map, especially for new players, right?
Yeah.
If they're first coming into trials for the first time, they're just, how are they ever going to, get good at a map if it's continuously rotating on them? My other concern about this is the fact that I feel like everyone was complaining like the rotation is now up. We're now seeing the maps that had been used in the past being used again, and they're kind of upset. We want a new map this week, or we've already played on Widow's Court. We've already played on Cauldron. We want a new map. And what do? They give us random maps.
But the same maps.
But
so
the
we've already
same
played
maps.
on these, but
Yes.
they're random. Yeah, I can totally understand that. I think it's going to be fun for guys like us who have been doing it every week.
Mm-hmm.
I know I missed a couple weeks, but I think it's going to be more fun for the people that have been into trials. And like you said, I think it's going to be more of a rough time for the people who kind of want to just take a peek at trials and have a chance at going to Lighthouse, because everybody else has already got strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, they're maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have the set people that they go in with. So they all know the strategies, and they see the map. They're like, okay, switch up your weapons or class, or don't do anything. But now we know the strategy for this map. I think it's going to be really hard for new players to get to the Lighthouse.
Even, I think, people who are experienced in trials, it's just going to be that much more of a battle to get to the Lighthouse, just because it's a variable that is unpredictable now. Like, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what map you're going to be loading into next.
So
And
every card is a new
map.
potential map.
Every match.
Every game.
Every game.
Every game
Every
is a
game.
new potential one. So yeah, not just card, but game as well.
Okay, I feel like it's gonna kind of force people, whether you're like new to trials or not, I feel like it's gonna force people to kind of, like become more well-rounded in the sense that like in this instance they won't have strictly, short-range maps or strictly long-range maps. They'll have a mix of both, so they'll have to, switch up their playstyle a little bit more often.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
you're definitely going to see that weapon change at that first load in a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Will
And it
you
probably
even-
won't be somebody faking in a blue gun
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't
It'll
even think
be-
you'll have time to be checking the other team because you're worrying about switching up your own loadout.
Yeah, for sure.
Except
yeah,
me,
and
because
now
I
it's-
run the same thing no matter what map.
Yeah.
I run roughly the same thing, but it changes a little bit. But yeah, that's a good point because now, when you're flying in, we're usually looking at loadouts of the other team, but that's before we know what map we're on now.
Mm-hmm.
So now when the map comes up, everybody's going to switch. You're not going to have time. Yeah, it's going to introduce quite a bit of randomness to it.
Because
have
even
Jeff
if
for
I
that.
have time to look at them, they're probably switching up their guns anyways, too.
Exactly.
They're probably incorporating it also because people were probably getting so familiar with the map. By the end of it, they were like, I got this. I know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to do the same thing and kind of thing. And so they kind of want to, I think they always kind of want to make it more challenging for, for groups to get to the lighthouse. Because, at the end of the day, if you don't get it the first time, you're just going to keep playing. You know what I mean? So if they make it harder, then more people are going to actually play.
Yeah, and the other thing this brings up is something I think that they should have done before they did something like this is spawn swapping. I think it's going to be, because not every map most maps have an arguably better spawn as far as being able to get into a position to scout the other team quicker or move into more of a fortified position with less lanes to look down, or if you're a run and gun, the alleys you take. So I think a lot of these maps have much better spawns than the other ones. So if you're that kind of person or if you just get unlucky and you get bad spawns a lot in a row, even if you're pretty evenly matched, if you're evenly matched with the other team, the better spawn is probably going to make a bit of a difference. Granted, you can flip up your stuff on the fly, but I really think they need to implement maybe not every round, but
After
every
3.
other round. Yeah, after 3 or every 2 rounds, because then you could technically switch 4 times.
I say after 2
By the
rounds
end of
because
it.
that would suck on heavy round to be on a different spawn.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
that would give it a little bit more, and then that would make it more well-rounded. If you even beat them on one spawn, can you beat them on the other? I think that would make it more competitive, and it wouldn't give the edge to either team.
I feel like we
point.
get bad spawn so much that we could win on either side.
Yeah, well, there's also that. Is if you can win on the bad spawn,
Yeah.
you can win on the good spawn. That's true.
A part of me kind of just wishes that like they would make new spawn points for trials specifically, just to shake
Yeah.
things up.
Oh yeah, that would be something, but that might get I don't know.
Or even move the objective.
The objective
Like,
point.
no, it's somewhere else. It's not here.
On the
got
other
people-
side of the map.
Yeah.
You got people fanned
You have to
out,
look for
10
it.
seconds left. Everybody
Turn it
into
like,
the
seconds.
amazing
spreads out.
race.
Where is it?
Yeah. It's like looking for the chests when we were farming those keys.
That was one of
Yeah.
my favorite times. That was a lot of fun. What are you doing today? Farming keys.
For hours.
Doing for the next
It's
month. Farming.
Because it was the closest thing that we had to sparrow racing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the
It
first
was.
time I did it, I was like, I don't even know where we're going. And I was just following everyone, and I was like, oh, we
Why
have
are
to
we
open
turning
the
back?
chest. Nobody
And
told me you had to open the
And
chest.
then you got a key on your first one. So.
The first one I actually opened. I did it back
Yeah.
and forth, and I was just like, okay, we gotta go, and we have to come back. But I never opened any chest. I was just.
I just
Didn't
wish
know
they
this
had
was
explained it better because like
Mhm.
the first couple times I did it, I saw the ether key thing, but I was like, what the hell is an ether key? Is it a buff? Like, what does
They
it
don't
do?
explain it.
And then Jeff comes like a week later. He's like, oh, it opens a chest. I'm like, what?
This is why I reread it.
Back to trials. I just feel like based on the reaction of what they're doing right now, it's going to define what happens with trials from now till, I guess, Taken King comes out, or they could even keep it after. But I just feel like if it goes well, they're probably going to keep trials as a random map, rather than having just one map based on the reaction that we have, like the community has to it now. And I feel like this is true because, it would be easier to just input a map in that rotation versus whatever map they choose, if it was just one map, which is why I think elimination mode is, the same week leading up to this random trials, I guess, tester, just to help with that transition. And I feel like the community is going to react pretty positively to this, and we're going to have random maps for a while. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna like it, but we'll see what if new people join up, what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this could be a good week to start trials.
Yeah,
I think we're going to play a lot of elimination mode.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's gonna be really good practice now. And then also we get Lord Salad Man back next week with Iron Banner.
Wow.
Yes.
So we get
Nikki's happy about that.
Iron Lag Fest.
And he better bring that helmet.
Banner. Yeah, I could use the helmet with intellect and discipline, please.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. The last thing with the weekly update is Penny for your thoughts. So on this one, he says, we want your email address. And he says, why? Don't worry about it. We like you. Isn't that enough? We promise we won't give it to anyone. But basically what they're going to do is if you go on to your Bungie.net profile and go to your settings, notifications, and email, you fill in your email address, then they're going to give you 9 strange coins. And if you've already done this, they're going to give you 9 strange coins. So they say the strange coins will be granted on Fridays. So I'm assuming this Friday, those of us that already have our thing on Bungie.net will get 9 strange coins, which is kind of cool.
So you're telling me I don't need to run the weekly.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Not that I've run the weekly in a while, but I continue not to run the weekly. They say you have until August 30th to benefit from this little bribe. And then they basically said, we just want to keep in touch and make sure you never leave us, ever. Which is
so, a cult.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, only they're paying us to be in the cult instead of us paying them.
Like I haven't
We
heard
have
that
benefits.
before.
It's a cult with benefits. Yeah. CWB. Okay, so that pretty much rounds up our weekly update talk. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is Ascension. So do we think we're going to be able to bring the old weapons and armor up with the new ones in the Taken King? How do we think Ascension's going to work? Are we going to be able to ascend things? Are we going to leave the old ones behind? So let's go ahead and discuss a little bit about that.
I feel like ascending is something implemented to make the community happy, so that not a lot came with the House of Wolves, in my opinion, and giving like some of the advertisements or things that made people want to play House of Wolves is like, I could bring my Fatebringer, or I could use my Fatebringer and have it relevant. And I just feel like ascending is the same thing as when we first got the Dark Below with, trading an exotic shard to get our weapons to the max damage level. But I feel with all these weapons coming out, it's time to move on and to enjoy these new companies and to enjoy these new weapons and the new weapon balancing update that they have coming out. And I don't think we're going to be able to bring our Fatebringers or our Visions along with us. Like, yes, you can still use them, but it's going to be the same as when the Dark Below dropped, and you went into that raid, and when I first got my Word of Crota, I was using it, and it's 365, but my fate bringer was 300. I could use my fate bringer because I like that Firefly perk, but it just didn't have as much punch as the Word of Crota would, right? So I would use my Word of Crota over the fate bringer, despite the perks weren't the greatest, but that power and the impact was a lot more. So I feel like, yes, you could still, use your fate bringer when Taken King comes out, but there's these new guns that are just going to have that extra punch, and I feel like you're just not going to be using Fatebringer that much, and it's fine with me because I tend to not use it as much even now because I enjoy using other weapons because I'm just so sick of using the same stabled guns.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't even check my loadouts and just go with what I have on my character.
Yeah, I hope it's even more of a gap than we saw with Dark Below and Vanilla Destiny. I hope it's a gap from Vanilla all the way up to House of Wolves. It's like such a jump that the old weapons are really just not that helpful unless you're doing the missions to be able to buy new guns. So I'm assuming the raid is going to drop a couple weeks after. Hopefully the level, I guess the level requirement for the new raid is such that they give us a couple weeks to level up our characters, find some new guns or buy some new guns and level those up so that we can get ready. And hopefully you don't see people bringing in old guns because they're just so underpowered. I think that's going to be good. I love the Fatebringer, but I'm ready for something else to be OP now.
I have a feeling that just like you're not going to really have much of a choice at this point because with all the new guns coming out from your factions or these new companies or whatever they are, like you're not going to have the vault space unless they increase it, which I don't think they will, but at least not for a while. You're just going to really have to organize and like prioritize which guns fit your playstyle, and I don't think that, especially with these new companies, I don't think that a lot of the old guns are going to, make the cut.
Yeah, with these new perks, it's just advancing so much of how this game's going to be played, I guess. We saw in the House of Wolves the kind of perks that we're going to be seeing, like Hidden Hand, which is something that's like sought out on snipers now over stuff that we used to have like unflinching. And these new perks, I feel like coming with these guns are just what's going to help separate what guns we want to bring forward and what's going to occupy our vault space. And I just want to know, are they going to be increasing our vault space or are they not? If they're going to tell me that they're not going to, then I'm going to start cleaning house now, but I'm kind of holding on to my weapons until I get that confirmation just to see if it can bring him along and if there is ascension or not. But whatever helps push the gap on going with the new guns is good with me.
Yeah, I agree. For some reason I thought I had read that they did confirm that there was going to be an inventory or a vault upgrade. I was trying to find it in the weekly updates, but I can't find it right now, but I'll
I feel like
put it
there was an update that said these are the things that are most wanted, but it never really said like this is what's going to be coming, right? Because I feel like it would have blew up online or in Reddit, like, oh, more vault space,
But wouldn't I would think that they would keep it the same because they would probably want to encourage you to start using the new guns and actually want to keep them, and kind of, purge out the older guns because, I do agree that they're going to probably have like a lower strength into where you wouldn't want to use them. So I think keeping the vault space the same is going to kind of just encourage you to purge.
It's going to hurt me because even before all these new weapons coming out, I'm just so tight in vault space right now.
Yeah.
To the point where I can barely transfer stuff over because it's full.
I wonder if they would ever, have a certain vault for a certain character. Is that how it is? Or no? It's like, you have the same vault, right? So what if you get like extra space with like each character?
Or just be able to hold more items on each character.
They should make a vault space in the ship.
They should. That's where we should be able to access our vault.
Yeah.
Our ship is not useful right now. I want to be able to not have to go to the tower to grab stuff. Even though we have stuff like Destiny Item Manager and Tower Ghost and stuff like that, which are really helpful in the loadouts app. But yeah, I think they need to streamline it in Destiny. I don't think they should rely on people in the community to make things that I need while playing the game. I think people in the community should be kind of in charge of doing all the extra stuff that makes playing the game more fun. But I don't think stuff like the Destiny Item Manager should be absolutely necessary for playing the game, which is pretty much what I use it for. You can use the app too, but it's a lot slower to use.
Yes. We were happy about it, but it took forever. They're like, what are you doing? Transferring guns over. Some people even prefer just to fly in because it just took so much. And if you don't have a smartphone, then you don't have those options too.
Yep, exactly. Or if you're not attached to a computer while you're playing.
The only thing that I would be sad about is I'm the type of person. You can call me a hoarder. I think Nikki knows.
Jeff is a hoarder.
I'm a hoarder.
He's a everything hoarder, like so many guns.
Sam has blue weapons on her character.
Whoa, hey. I mean, granted, I still don't have... I mean, my vault is, like, pretty much empty, so I don't feel you guys' same pain.
Yes, but I mean, you being relatively new to the game, you're already keeping blue guns. I can't imagine when you start getting lots of purples. It's gonna be bad.
Like, how do you feel about, 5 years down the line, and, Fatebringer is, let's say, irrelevant, would you still care to have that in your collection?
No.
For me, I would. But
I would.
I'm a collector. I mean, I have everything. I don't have all of the House of Wolves stuff yet, but, I mean, Jeff, you and I both have every exotic from the Dark Below and Vanilla Destiny, and you may have all the exotics from the new one, too.
I'm only missing...
For maybe a couple
I think he does.
I'm only missing Bones of AO. Yeah. That is all.
Bones of Meow.
Meow.
Yeah, so I'm missing a couple more than that, but yeah, I like to collect things, so my vault is full of things that I don't use, but I hope may be useful in the future, especially exotics. I can see myself getting rid of some of the legendaries, probably not the raid ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that are useful in regular Crucible, maybe that where damage doesn't matter, maybe I'll keep them, but honestly, I'll probably just be using whatever I'm using in Trials or whatever the competitive thing is at the time where power does matter. So I'll probably be practicing with them in regular Crucible anyway, so I don't see myself taking those along. But I like the raid weapons. The raid weapons, I think, are just kind of like a trophy.
Yep.
Like, I had to grind my butt off to get Fatebringer.
Yeah.
And all of the VOG weapons that were not handed out like candy.
I'm still looking for a Found Verdict.
I wonder
if
like in 5 years or something they say, oh, like for those people who kept the classics, we'll bring it back and make them real strong. That would be funny.
Or you're allowed to bring one weapon along.
Yeah.
For everything.
Oh yeah.
Which pretty much everybody would bring Fatebringer, but
another issue with my vault space is that I keep duplicates of some things too, just because I feel like the market value of a specific item, if it's rare now, then it'd be rare in the future. So if they did incorporate or implement trading, which I feel like may or may not be coming because they had that contract of that trademark or copyright of Eververse, which is a trading company. So why would they do, copyright contract with Eververse with a trading company if it was going to be implemented sometime in the future? So I just keep duplicates of some things just in case trading comes. So like, what's the number one PvE exotic for the Titan? Ruined Wings. So if let's say Xur doesn't sell it anymore and someone's out there trying to still get one and trading comes in, boom, I'll be right there for them. And I'll cash in. That's why
I would have said that about Galahorn, except last week's update, but
I think it'll still be good. I mean,
it'll still be good.
Talking about the Wolfpack rounds.
See, that's why I think it would also be good to have, a vault per character, and then you could also access, that character's vault, being a different character if you needed to. But then how there's certain guns for certain, you know,
armor pieces.
Right, for only certain characters. But you're using your one vault space to store this, but you're your hunter right now, you know, and you have, like for me, you know, I have that piece that's for a warlock. What's it called? Yeah, I can't.
Purifier robes?
Yeah, I have that, but, you know, my hunter's not up to that level yet, but it's just kind of taking up space. So if I had like a vault for that character, then, you know, if you did get doubles, you could probably...
That's a good point.
You wouldn't have to switch guns and switch the gear and worry about all that stuff. You just kind of, if you got doubles, you just be like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about switching it when I switch characters. You just switch characters and you're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then it would make the ship a little bit more of a possible vault type thing if you have it per character, and then maybe you have to go to the tower to access your other character's vaults. And then it would also make sense with the weapons being class specific now with some of the perks. I'm not going to want to use something that's got a perk for a hunter on my Titan.
So let's take a short break, and if you've made it this far into the podcast, we'd like to say thank you for listening by handing out a Red Bull code to a lucky listener. All you have to do is go to redbullquest.com and enter the code 74V44L3P. And if you're the first person to do that, you'll get access to the Red Bull Quest once the Taken King drops, and also a 30-minute double XP item in your Postmaster that you can use now or save until the Taken King. Again, thanks for listening.
So let's do one of our features. We're going to do Destiny for Dummies, and since this is our first podcast, I'll kind of explain what this feature is. We're going to do this every podcast. This is going to take... this is going to discuss something that might be a little bit more foreign to newer players. So we have Samantha here, and she's pretty new at the game. She's got a level 32 character and then a level 16, I think. So 14. She's been kind of helping us. 14. And so she's been kind of helping us figure out stuff to do for this section. But I think this would be good for the newer players to kind of go over something that might seem simple to people who've been playing over 1,000 hours, but isn't necessarily very obvious to people who haven't. So today we picked perks. We're going to discuss pairing them with subclasses, weapons, armor, and kind of what we look at when we choose perks for specifically pairing them with like your subclasses or your weapons and that kind of thing. So
I think it depends on what kind of player you want to be and what you are attempting to go play. So for me, what stands out is, let's say, the Sun Singing Warlock. And the type of player you want to be. So the reason why I use Viking Funeral, which is ignite, burn longer, and your enemies take more damage, and Touch of Flame, which means all grenades ignite enemies, causing damage over time. So those two, Touch of Flame and Viking Funeral, on a Sunsinger Warlock complement each other, because if you use the Firebolt grenade, which is the grenade that you throw over, and it will, seek out enemies and shoot at them. So if they're around a wall and you throw it, you can see it shoot out and hit that person. If you throw two grenades over there and that person has full armor and like full health, you throw two grenades over there and they both shoot out and hit him, he will not die. But if you were to do that with the Touch of Flame and the Viking Funeral, then that enemy would die.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we use that in trials a lot. You basically pop them once, and then if you can hit them with that grenade, they're dead. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a really good perk combination, and it really is like you said. It depends on what you're doing at the time and what your goal is. So I look a lot more at perk combinations and how they interact for Crucible than I do for PvE, because I feel like it's not as necessary. I just kind of play fun PvE, kind of whatever I want to use, what I like using, but I feel like you can do a lot more with perks in PvP where you don't have yellow bar enemies that have 1,000 health points.
So what's an example that you would use on one of your characters? Depending on, just give an example, kind of like Jeff did.
So what I use, if I run Voidwalker, one of my favorite perks is to run the Void Fang Vestments as my chest piece. So that gives me a grenade every time I respawn, especially in Trials, because then I don't have to worry about if I let one loose at the end of a Trials round to kill somebody for the final kill. I know I'm going to have a grenade the next time, and then I'll run Axion Bolt with the increased range.
Is this what character? I'm sorry.
The Voidwalker for Warlock.
Warlock, okay.
So, with the Axion Bolt, the base one, if you throw it, it has the 2 Seekers that come out, and they'll home in on whoever's around them within a certain radius, and they'll follow them and track them. But if you run the perk for increased tracking distance, you can either run that or Bloom. It kind of depends on the map. If it's a smaller map, I'll kind of run Bloom. Or if I think that they're going to be more grouped up, I'll run Bloom. But most of the time, if it's a bigger map, I'll run the one that increases the range. And then if you run Void Fang Vestments, you always get a grenade every time you respawn, and you get a 3rd Seeker on your Axion Bolt. So if it's in Trials, if they're grouped up, I can have an Axion Bolt go after all 3 of them at once. And Axion Bolts are really fun because nobody wants to get hit by one, so they usually just run like hell. So you can kind of force them into lanes that you want to use them, or if they just take the hit, to close in if they're already hurt. So that's a really good perk combination. And even with the Sunsinger, I'll run Void Fang Vestments just so I make sure I have a grenade every time, because you don't necessarily get the perk for the extra Seeker on the Axion Bolt, but you do get a really good perk, which is having a grenade every time you respawn.
Yep. So that's what I run.
Mm-hmm.
So my setup for the Warlock would be, so I use the Firebolt grenade. So you could be someone else who runs in people's faces and throw the fusion grenade, which sticks. It's magnetic and sticks to people. But I like having the perk where you throw it if they're around the corner, if they're running away, and you just throw it in that area and it shoots out to get them. Depending on what I'm playing, Trials, I run Fireborn so I can come back alive and help my teammates out and maybe get a round or win the match for them. But if I'm not, I'm just playing regular Crucible, then I play Radiant Skin just so that I can be more aggressive and pop my super more often rather than hanging on to it. Because if I'm hanging on to it, that means I'm using my super less often in a match, and that doesn't really help me or my teammates out. Because as a Titan, I smash a lot. Even if it's early in the game, if I can get my super quick, I'm going to use it so that I can start getting another super to use again. Because if I kill people, that helps my teammates out and generates orbs, which allows my teammates to use their supers. So Radiant Skin allows me to pop my super more often, killing things and just popping supers or orbs of light along my way so people can, run around behind me and pick them up like it's Easter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I struggle with too, because I find myself looking for a group of enemies a lot of the times with any super really, other than maybe Defender or Sunsinger. I'll look for a group of enemies to get the most bang for my buck per super, when more of the time it's better to get that 1 or 2 kill with your super and get the super again to get the guaranteed 1 or 2 kill. You can rack up usually more, and you help your team out because you're giving out orbs more often. So,
and then
I totally agree with that.
My armor setup is sometimes, like what John said, was a very good setup to have the grenade every time you respawn. Despite if you're running Voidwalker or Sunsinger, just having that extra grenade every time. In Crucible map, if you die, you get another grenade. But in Trials, if you die and someone revives you, there's your grenade right away that you could just chuck at someone if you're almost, around people. But I run the Ram because of the increased armor, as well as with the Void Fang Vestments. It's for a Voidwalker, but because of that perk of having an extra grenade, it's useful. The same with the Ram. It's for a Voidwalker because it triggers lifesteal. when you punch someone, but it has this perk inside of that that says increased armor. And what that does, it allows me to live through things that other players wouldn't normally if they did not have the ram on. So let's say a thorn, if it shot you twice in the head, it would kill you if you didn't have the ram. And if it shot me twice, I would not die.
So
So
the
that
ram is
means
on
that
what character? Sorry.
that's on the
It's a
warlock.
warlock.
Warlock. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I like that just because if I can get shot twice and not die, that means that if we were running the same weapons and we came in front of each other and we were the same class, same full armor, same everything, but I had the ram on and you didn't, and we both started shooting each other at the same time, I would win.
Yep.
And I
That's a
like
good
that.
point.
Yep, that's a pretty powerful edge. And I think it's even going to be more evident with that stuff in the new weapon balance, since they specifically mention how the armor setting is going to make a difference on pulse rifles, say, whether it's one or whether it's 2 or 3 bursts from how they come on. So, yeah, that's a good point. Tell people how they can find people and some cool tips and tricks for playing Destiny efficiently.
Okay, so there's this website called LFG. Yeah,
One
so
on Planet
basically it's a
Destiny.
website. There's also an app that allows you to go in, filter in what people are looking for. It's a website that shows everyone's gamer tag, what kind of thing they're wanting to play, like PoE, Trials, Crucible, and you can add that person on Xbox or even message them on the website or the Xbox website. And just link up with them to hey, I want to play Crucible as well, do you want to play, or let's run this Nightfall together. This is a really great site to link it with some people that want to do the same thing as you and get it done. I've used this site a lot when I first got into Destiny, because a lot of people around my area didn't have an Xbox One because next gens weren't that common. So I used LFG a lot to find people to help me out with the content that I needed to complete, such as raids, which is how I actually found John and a lot of my friends now, which formed our new clan. So you can really meet some great people on there, because the Destiny community is very, very friendly. They're awesome. You can look online of like the kind of things that they do, tributes for fallen guardians, fundraisers for people who are ill. It's a great community. So going on that website and finding people to play with is really, really easy. And I feel like you'll find someone that you might end up playing for the rest of your time that you play this game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was the same way. I used LFG all the time until I hooked up with you and Greg and Nikki, and then when Sam started playing, she got to play with all of us too. So yeah, it's perfect. And I think that, and another good tool that doesn't really necessarily help you find people to play with, but Destiny Item Manager for Chrome, or the Loadouts app for iOS, or Tower Ghost, which has apps, I think, on Android. I'm fairly certain on Android, but I know they have it on iOS, and you can access it from the internet as well. Those are all really good tools to manage your items. So if you have vaults like Jeff and I and some of the other people in our clan, where you need to switch out weapons, you don't necessarily have them when you load up or want to go to the tower, you can kind of switch them on the fly, or you forget something in the middle of a mission. It's really helpful to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I use it all the time.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and close out the podcast with a fun question.
All right.
Throw it out there.
So this kind of goes along with how Nikki was talking about, maybe you get these new specific class, specific guns for your Titan or Warlock, whatever class that you choose to go for when you get Taken King. So this fun question comes as, what happens when the Taken King comes out, the storyline goes and unfolds, and we find out that our ghost, the Dinklebot, the Dinklage, dies. And now we are out hunting for our new power, our new subclass. But we find that to do that, we have to discover a new ghost to help us on this path, on this journey, to find this new power. And recently the new Ghost Shell, the Intrusion Shell, which is now on the Bungie website that you can check out too, um, is now our new ghost. And you're given the option to have anybody's voice to be this ghost. What would yours be?
It's kind of, I'm in the middle between two, but it's basically the same thing. So if I could choose a new voice, I would choose the genie from Aladdin, aka Robin Williams, because he would make it super fun, and I would just be laughing the whole time, and he'd be like, maybe he can even go into Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know, but it surprised me, and it would make it a lot more. It would make it a blast. So that is the voice that I would choose.
Awesome.
That's a good
That
one.
was his
Can I
birthday
just say
not
that
too
was like
long
a
ago, too.
spot on hello?
You're welcome.
I have a voice for both a guy and a girl, so if it ended up being a dude, then I'd probably want Kevin Hart to be my voice.
Out of nowhere, all I heard was, all right, all right, all right. Yeah!
Nice.
But if it was a girl, I think I would want Wanda Sykes, because she's just sassy as shit, and I love it.
I like that, people, they enjoy me and they feel like they can come and talk to me, but sometimes don't.
Who is that?
That is awesome.
Wanda Sykes is, oh my
No,
god.
I know who Kevin Hart is. I could be shooting things and he's gonna be, oh, you gonna learn today.
Yes, exactly.
And
That'd
you,
be awesome. You're gonna have to show him Wanda Sykes
I
stand
will.
up or something later. Yeah.
I had troubles with this question because I could not decide if I wanted a female's voice or a male's voice. If it was a female's voice, I think I would go Cortana.
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Oh, that's a good one.
And for a male's
Bungie
voice,
approved.
I'd probably pick Jarvis from Iron Man.
1974 Stark Expo model scan complete, sir.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. So mine, I pretty much, I was between two, but it was pretty much, my first guess was Jar Jar Binks, because that, you would be able not to stop smiling, but then I kind of settled on James Earl Jones, because I want Darth Vader speaking in my ear the entire time I played Destiny, because I think that would be awesome. It would have to be the Darth Vader James Earl Jones, but I think that would be really intense. Plus, he's already from space. It makes sense that he would be our guest.
The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands. Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
I like it.
All right. So that's the end of our first podcast.
I'm Hera21. You can catch me on Twitch at Hera_21 and on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Nikki Natrium.
And I'm Sam. You can catch me on Xbox. My gamer tag is SammyGirl2, and I don't Twitter, so.
I'm Epion. You can find me on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and they're all at Epion.
And I'm John. You can catch me on Xbox, it's SilverJ87, and it's the same thing on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us in our first podcast. Look forward to many more. Over and out.
Over and out.